I have this plant and it kind of looks like it's dying, and that's because I'm a lazy piece of crap and I never water it. I know, it only takes like 5 to 10 minutes per week to water it, but I got better things to do. Like, so I made this, an automatic watering pot to make sure the plant never goes thirsty ever again. And now, watering it is as simple as touching a button. Here's how I made it. So I didn't know this before, but you don't actually have to water your plants every day. Different types of plants have different types of needs. So essentially you just gotta mimic their natural environment and then they will thrive. So what I have here is an orchid. And most orchids are epiphytes, meaning they naturally grow by clinging on to other plants such as trees. Yeah, just like that, but no pot. Not that kind of pot. Perfect. And because of these living conditions, orchids don't really need to get watered that often. The instructions were to submerge the entire pot for around 5 minutes and then completely drain it. So pumping water in the pot isn't really a problem. I can do that with like a simple water pump. The problem is more on how am I gonna drain it, you know? Okay, hear me out. I know toilet's disgusting, ew, but there's a mechanism in there that we can use. Okay, first off, these guys, not important. Let's go to the tank. So the inside of this tank is filled with water, and at the bottom of it, there's this thing called the flapper. It's essentially a plug that prevents the water from flowing into the bowl. This flapper is connected to the flush by a chain. So when you push that handle, it yanks the chain and pulls the flapper with it, allowing the water to freely flow into the bowl. And this is exactly what we want with our design. We want it to be able to fill a pot with water and drain it when we need to. So I came up with this design. This top part is the main pot. This will hold the plant, and at the bottom, we have the drain hole. That's where this flapper would go. Using a chain here doesn't really make sense. So I'll be using one of these rotating thingamajigs instead. I'll be connecting this to a servo, so at rest position, the hole is plugged. And once we need to drain the water, we can just rotate this and it should lift that flapper up and allow the water to flow back down to the water tank. And yeah, let's test it out. Here we're testing different types of flappers. I just want to make sure that I can achieve a full plug. I don't want water seeping down or dripping or anything. For some reason, I just can't plug it completely. There's always a little tiny bit of droplets flowing down from the pot. And then it hit me. I don't really need a full plug. As long as we're pumping water faster than it's draining, we're all good. We don't even need these complex mechanisms. So is this just an elaborate excuse to get away with not setting up the servo? Yes. Yes, it is. I've used a lot of Node MCUs for my previous projects, so I wanted to try something new, something smaller. This is a D1 Mini. It has an ESP8266 module, so it's still IoT. Everything was going to plan until I started testing and it doesn't work. The problem is I need 100 milliamps and around 3 volts to power the water pump, but each of these pins can only dish out like 12 milliamps, which is not enough. I could use a 3.3 output pin, but that pin cannot be turned on or off. It's always on. So this is where transistors come in. There's a lot of uses for transistors, but for this project, all you gotta know is I'm using it as a switch. Alright, so how it works is we connect the power of the water pump to the D1 Mini and the ground to the collector. We use one of the digital pins D5 and connect it to the base through a resistor. Then we connect the emitter to the ground to complete the circuit. So right now, the transistor is acting like a switch that is off. But when we send a small voltage from D5 pin to the base pin, it turns the transistor on, allowing the current to flow from the collector to the emitter, which powers the water pump. Since we can control pin D5, we can easily toggle the pump on and off using code. So now that we're done with the hardware, we can go to the software. And by software, I mean an Android application. Realistically, we can do everything without having to integrate an Android application. But I'm not as good with hardware as I am with software. This is a more dynamic approach, and it gives me more control.
I just love it. We have more control.
So here's how the software works. So this is the page where we add the details of the plant. First off is the plant name. Since this is an orchid, let's name it Lily. Then right here we have the moisture frequency. This is essentially how often we water it. So for our case it's 7 days, which is every week. And then pump time seconds is the duration in seconds when we pump water. So ours is 300 seconds or 5 minutes. For the color, this orchid used to have purple flowers. So let's do purple. Once we're done, we can just go ahead and click add, and this would send a request to the D1 Mini to start watering the plant for 5 minutes. And in the background, this app schedules another watering process a week from now. So if we go to the calendar, it shows us when it was last watered, which is today, and then when it will be watered again, which is next week. And once that's set up, I don't need to do anything else. The app will handle everything. Then we can go here to the plants tab where we would see all the plants that we manage and their cycles. So I can potentially add more if I wanted to. So how much time does this actually save us? Okay, well before we had to grab the thing, give it water, wait 5 minutes, drain, wipe the water from the vase, then place it back. That's a lot of work, right? Now, we just gotta plug it in if it wasn't already plugged in, and then our app should handle everything else. I just gotta change the water sometimes. And what's really comforting about this is that despite my inconsistent care for this plant, I could rest easy knowing that the responsibility is no longer on me. Now, this plant can thrive and live on, continuing its life journey without me. Right, Lily? She says yeah. Well, that's the end of it. And in the spirit of Halloween, I had a completely different intro planned, but I cut it since people click off. So here it is if you want to see it. Please, subscribe. Wait, cut. Are we really gonna use those vines? Can we make it more realistic? Brother, I can barely edit. You want me to start animating as well? Fair enough. Hey, if you made it this far, please consider subscribing. I need it like plants need water. So I bought another orchid and wait, what? I could have used ice cubes.